What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope everybody out there is having a spectacular day. Today I want to take a chance and walk you around and show you what we got growing in all 10 of our garden plots. A lot of the videos we do, we just focus on one plot. And while we're focused on that one plot, lots of other stuff are growing in the other 10 plots. And so it would take a lot of videos to get to all plots. So every now and then I like to do these garden tours. We just do kind of a quick run through, show you what all we've got growing. So let's start out here in this big plot, my largest plot, where we've got all kind of different things growing. First off here, we've got some Napa cabbage. We can see there that stuff is starting to head up a little bit. Surprisingly, we haven't had a ton of pest pressure on these guys yet, and these are usually easy targets and get eat up pretty good. We got a little bit there, as you can see, might need to take care of that. But for the most part, these are looking pretty good. Still got a ways to go to get a nice full head there, but we're on our way. We got more cabbage growing here. This is a tropical type cabbage that makes a large flat head. We can see some head development starting there. Still a ways to go. A little bit of pest pressure on these guys, not a lot, but maybe worth spraying one more time. This here is a Savoy type cabbage, so a little bit different than the Napa cabbage and the standard cabbage. And it's starting to form heads as well. It kind of sprawled out on me, and now it's trying to tighten back up in the big heads there. We've got some broccoli and cauliflower over here. Broccoli plants are looking really good. No signs of any heads yet, but I expect that could happen close to any day now. We always like to see nice big plants. That usually makes a nice big broccoli head. Cauliflower plants are looking pretty good. No heads there. Obviously those will be behind the broccoli. We've got some nice big plants on this yellow cauliflower here. On the next 4 rows in this big plot, we've got double rows of peas. So these first 2 rows here, we've got some butter peas, and I didn't get as good a germination as I would have wanted off these guys. We got a decent row there, but I planted these things pretty thick, and so they didn't come up quite as well as I wanted them to. I think they're okay. I don't need to go in there and replant, but just not as full as I'd like to see. On the other hand, these pink eye peas here came up really, really well. I thinned those out already to about 1 every 3 inches or so. So we got 2 nice double rows of pink eye peas. Hopefully we can fill the freezer with those guys. Got our squash and zucchini right here on this row. These are looking pretty good, starting to fill in that row. Might need to come in here and thin these out a little more. I don't know, I might leave them. Sometimes we just kind of run them out to the side here, and that way we can get more out of the row. We don't have any squash yet, but it won't be long. We can see some little babies there, some female blooms starting to form on these guys. So hopefully we'll have squash in the next few weeks. Then we've got our cucumbers over here. These guys are just starting to form some tendrils. I've been kind of trying to get them started on that trellis netting there. Had okay germination on my cucumbers. Got some skips there. But we got slicers in here, picklers, and even got some gherkin cucumbers down at the end. And right behind this big plot here, we've got our sweet corn growing. And it's on up about 12 to 14 inches tall. Looking pretty good. Got a few skips in there, but a pretty good stand overall. Came in here recently and healed this, threw some dirt to the middle there, mainly to suppress some weeds, but also to kind of support the root structure on that corn. We'll probably heal it one more time with a garden rake, I'd say in a few more weeks, because I'm sure we'll get some more weeds there between the rows we'll need to suppress. But good looking stand of corn. It's growing fast. Been keeping it fed. I got the water running on it right now, feeding it right at those roots. On the other side of the barn, we've got this little plot here where we've got our arch trellis set up for our pole beans. I did have to replant these climbing pole beans. I planted them too early, and we had some cold weather and some bad wind that zapped them, but got them replanted and coming up for the most part. A few skips in there. Just haven't had great bean germination this spring for some reason, but there should be enough plants there to fill this trellis nicely, and I can't wait to walk underneath there in the shade and pick these beans. Over here we've got our okra, and I scaled back my okra planting this year to only just 2 rows because we always grow way too much. And this is the first year I haven't grown the jambalaya variety, trying some other varieties. I've got this Jing orange okra right here, and it's starting to grow, starting to put on some leaves from when we transplanted it. It's liking this warmer weather. And over here I've got 2 varieties on this row. I got it split. I've got Perkins long pod and then the emerald green okra as well. So we'll be able to compare those 3 varieties and see which ones we like best. And behind that little plot, we've got this long skinny plot here where we've got all our nightshades, our tomatoes, peppers, and tomatillos. We've got our indeterminate tomatoes here on this end. We put some straw and cages around those on a previous video. Getting some blooms and some little tomatoes forming on those guys already. So that's always a good sign. Plants look nice and healthy. Don't ask me why I put these 2 rows so close together. I didn't realize it at the time, but that's probably going to be an issue in the future, but we'll see. We got the determinate varieties, a bunch of different varieties on this row here. We'll need to get some Florida weave going on those guys pretty soon. I've got a nifty little idea for a new way to do that. I'll be sure to show you guys that. We've got just a mixture of stuff in this middle row here. A few more indeterminates. Tomatillos are looking really good. Got some soil throwed up around those guys. And then we've got a few more peppers and determinate tomatoes on those end. And then this row is all peppers here. Those are ready for some Florida weave as well. I've just been waiting on these 2 little ones here. I can't remember what variety this is, but they're a good bit smaller than the others, and I want them to wait till they get a little taller before I run the weave so I can kind of run it all at the same level alongside these plants here. Out here in this area that we call the Dream Garden, where we've got 6 plots all the same size, we've got our potatoes right here. I showed you those a couple videos ago. Those are looking mighty fine. And it won't be long before we can go in here and scratch around and steal a few from some of these early maturing red varieties. Haven't done it yet, still waiting. They've only been planted not even 2 months, so waiting a little bit on that, and we'll start scratching around on those soon. But really happy with how potatoes are looking. This plot here is where we did our little English pea hack a video or 2 ago, and that's working really well. Getting those guys to train up that netting there and climb a little bit. Still got some really good kale production going along. Not any signs of bolting on this. Harvested half that row recently. We need to harvest this other half here. That's some really good stuff. Over here we've got some spinach that never really did anything. It's looking pretty pitiful. I've got some other spinach that looks really good in my no-till plot. And we'll do a whole video on why this spinach doesn't look as good as my no-till spinach. That's another video. Beets here are looking okay. Not as good as my no-till beets, you'll see in a minute. But we got pretty good size leaves on those and pretty good size beets forming there. You can see in there, there's one. So we'll probably be pulling these soon. I'm going to do some pickled beets, maybe even try some fermented beets. Plenty of beets here to harvest. In our no-till experimental plot, where we're just layering compost on top of compost and not doing any real cultivation, we've got this great looking spinach here. This stuff's just been growing back. We've already harvested several times and it just keeps bouncing back and keeps producing really nice dark green leaves on there. Really, really tasty stuff. And then these beets right here, which are the same variety as the ones I showed you earlier, these just look so much better. But we'll cover that on another video on why these no-till beets and spinach are looking so much better than my traditionally grown beets and spinach. Over here we've got lots of winter squash and pumpkins. We've got some cushaw squash, some kabocha squash, butternut squash, and then we got some giant pumpkins over there. These guys need to green up a little bit. They're kind of slow to go. They stayed in the seed trays too long, and a good bit of transplant shock with them. They're starting to grow a little bit now, but hopefully they'll pull some nutrients from that soil soon, because I know they're in there. Looking at those beets and spinach over there. Hopefully they'll grab some of those nutrients soon, grain up, and start growing. On the last video, we pulled all of our onions, flipped them up to let them dry. So that's happening right now. Waiting on those to get nice and crispy before we put them underneath the barn. Got our elephant garlic still kicking along here. And no signs of scapes yet. Usually we'll get scapes or the seed heads, and then they'll start to die back and it'll be time to harvest. But no signs of scapes yet, so we've just been keeping these guys watered and just watching them grow. Based on the size of some of the stalks here, looks like we might have a pretty good harvest. We'll just have to see. But those are just kind of holding pat. The leeks here are getting close to harvest time. I usually like to wait till the base of them gets about the size of a $50, and we're not there on all of them, but we're getting close on some of them. So won't be long before we'll be able to steal a few leeks from here. We won't harvest them all at one time. We'll just get the big ones out of here and pull them as we need them to eat them. They'll hold pretty good right here for a little while until it gets real hot. And on the end of the dream garden here, we've got a whole plot with nothing but herbs and flowers in it. So let me show you what we got here. This first row is all perennial herbs, so these things hopefully will be here for a while. We've got some tarragon right here, and then if we walk down a little bit, we've got some thyme right here, and then right down here where we need to weed a little bit, we've got some sage, and then at the very end here, we've got some garlic chives. Now I had these garlic chives growing in another spot, that plot where the English peas are, but I wanted to move them in line with these other perennial herbs. So what I did was I dug them up. You can see what I dug up right there. Dug them up, split them up, and then replanted them right here. They need some water right now, but they've taken pretty well. And so it's the first time I've ever done that, splitting off chives like that. But it worked really, really well. And those things just keep multiplying and keep growing. Onto this row here, we've got annual herbs. So we've got basil right there. We've got Thai basil right here. I already had to pick the flower heads off these guys to keep them going. And then down here at the beginning of this row, we've got our dill. We're gonna need plenty of that when we start doing some pickles and stuff. A lot of herbs, I know, probably more herbs than anybody needs, but I thought it would look pretty and be nice to have a bunch of them out here. And I do want to try drying some so we can save them for later. Onto the flowers here, we've got a whole row of borage. And this is the only thing in this plot I didn't put on a double row, just because I've never grown it before. I don't know really how big it's going to get, but this stuff's supposed to be really good for the pollinators, and I think you can eat the leaves. And so excited about trying borage for the first time. If you know anything about borage or got any good ways to use it, definitely let me know in the comments below. Over here we got lots of different flowers. We've got some ageratum here, which is a nice heat-loving flower. The native bees love it. Then we've got some celosia right here, and then some marigolds down at the end. This row here, we've got some nasturtium, which you can already see is blooming. Beautiful blooms on those, and you can eat those blooms. Got a nice little peppery flavor to them. We've got some impatiens right here. Zinnias down there at the end of the row. Multicolor zinnias. Then right here, we've got cosmos, a couple different varieties of cosmos. We've got a orange and yellow cosmos, and then a pink, white, and red cosmos mix. And then right here we've got some lacy phacelia, which is a nice, pretty flower to grow as well. So lots of good flowers and herbs in this plot here. And once this thing gets full, it won't look near spacious, but we want to give ourselves plenty of room to get in here and cut these flowers and harvest these herbs. And the last plot here, we've got watermelons, 2 rows of watermelons, and still got some space to plant there. Got some weeds in here we need to take care of. So we got some seedless watermelons and some Carolina Cross giant watermelons planted in here. This row has a combination of those 2 varieties. This row here is just the giant ones, and then I've got space over here for at least 2 more rows of something. Then I'm going to plant some canary melons right here. Grew some of those last year. Really like the storage ability and flavor of those. So I'm probably going to try a new variety called Brilliant right in here. Some canary melons to go alongside our watermelons. Watermelons need some fertilizer. They've been kind of slow to get going. They suffered from a good deal of transplant shock as well, because with that late cold spell, and I wasn't able to get them in the ground as soon as I wanted to. But hopefully we'll give them some nutrients and they'll get going pretty soon. All right. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the diversity of stuff we have growing amongst our 10 garden plots here, as far as the vegetables, the herbs, and the flowers go. We have fruits growing as well. Lots of fig trees. We got blueberries, blackberries, muscadines, mulberries. But today I just wanted to cover what was growing in the garden plots themselves. And I'd love to hear what you have growing in your garden right now. So put that in the comments below. And if there's anything you'd like to see us grow or plant that is, of course, seasonally appropriate, put that in the comments below as well, and we'll see if we can give it a try. And one more thing about the borage. If you've grown borage before, let me know how you like to use it. We've got a lot of it planted, a whole 30-foot row, and I know there are lots and lots of uses for it, but let me know how you specifically like to use it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell. By the beauty of your life,